Hi there, I'm Katie Morris and I am part of LuLaRoe by Katy and Anne. And today I wanted to go through a few Julia styling tips. So I wanted to show you guys how well Julia pairs with almost everything else that LuLaRoe makes. I have to admit, when I first started wearing LuLaRoe, Julia was one of the styles that I sort of stayed away from. I felt like a fitted sheath dress was not necessarily complementary to my body. But once I put one on, I realized not only is it entirely comfortable, but especially for me, I'm a little bit more comfortable if I size up one from what I would kind of normally reach for at the store. So this is an extra large Julia on me, and I wear usually about a size 14 or so. And so this is the fit that I like. So I have to size up for that. But I have on some leggings here, and I want to show you, if you haven't seen it, how to make Julia into a tunic top. So you pull up so that the hem is kind of at the thigh level here, maybe a little bit higher than you want the top to actually hit. And then you just fold the rest of the material down. And now Julia is a tunic top over your leggings. Also looks really cute this way over jeans. So I'm going to keep my leggings on here so that I can kind of change with you guys a little bit and show you how Julia can pair with some of the other pieces. So I want to start with how Julia pairs with the skirts, because this was one of the most surprising things that I found when I started kind of playing with Julia outfits. So first I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to wear Julia and Cassie. So here is a Cassie skirt that I have. And this one happens to be navy with some shiny polka dots there. So first I'm going to show you Cassie over Julia. And I'm going to pull my Cassie up. I like them kind of nice and, well, here, let's move it down a little bit, make sure that the hems cover each other. Perfect. So now I've got my pencil skirt over a nice fitted top. But then there's another option, and you can take and put the Julia over the Cassie. Pull the Cassie down just a little bit. And now I'm going to tie a small knot in the hem of my Julia. I'll show you here. So I've just wrapped around and I'm pulling through just a little knot, kind of like a Carly knot. I'm going to pull it down. So now you've got kind of a peekaboo on this Cassie. So that's one way to wear Cassie with Julia. Now, I want to show you too, azure also can work both ways. So here's an azure skirt from my closet. And first I'm going to put it on over Julia. And I actually have two other ways that you can wear your azure with your Julia. So here it is, over, fitted bodice, A-line skirt, right? And azure is longer than Julia, so that's going to work every time, even if you want to pull it up high. But now we can also use the azure as a poncho or a shawl over your Julia. So if you want a little bit more coverage, you can still wear your fitted Julia with a cute poncho over the top. One more though, and this is the one that kind of surprised me. So azure also works under your Julia. And what it does when you have cute coordinating patterns, so if you put your azure on underneath, and you want to pull it down a little bit so that you've got some extra length there. And then when you pull your Julia down over the top of it, you end up with this cute little ruffle skirt underneath the Julia. Right? I love it. You want to make sure that your lengths are right, so pull that one down. Yeah. There you go. So that's azure with Julia. But wait, there's more. So this one blew me away when I first saw it. Maxi skirt with Julia. Of course you can go over, right? And that's going to look pretty much like the other ones that we did. But when you put your maxi skirt on under your Julia and pull the Julia down over the top of it, you end up with a mermaid dress. So you can imagine all of the cute coordinating outfits that you can make with Julias and maxi skirts together, and then you've got kind of an elegant look. I love it. All right, so that's Julia in various skirts. Let me show you a couple of ways that we can also wear tops over the Julia. So let's start with the classic. Classic is perfect over Julia. Again, if you want a little bit of extra coverage, and I like the classic over the Julia because you end up with this kind of lining of the Julia underneath. And I like, because the sleeves on the Julia are longer than the classic, I take and cuff the sleeves up so that you've got a little bit of your Julia showing with your classic. And you could leave it like this, so you've just got a top on, or tie a little knot. I think I want to do the knot in the middle here. Let me try that. So if you tie a knot, and again, I'm just doing a simple, easy kind of rose knot. There we go. And that way you have a little bit more fitted look, right? So that's classic in Julia. But perfect also works well over Julia. And I like, when I put a perfect over the Julia, to put a belt on with it, because, and again, you're going to have this little kind of lining at the neck because the perfect is a little bit lower cut, but when you put a belt on with it, your perfect tee does this little peplum effect where it draws you in at the waist and then kind of gives you a little bit of extra coverage in the hip area with a short Julia skirt sticking out underneath, right? Irma also works very similarly over Julia. You can tie a knot or cinch it up in some way over the top. But here's the one that kind of surprised me, is actually Randy over Julia. And this is sort of my new favorite combo. And when I went to a multi-consultant sale with some of the local girls here in McMinnville. Anne and I are based in McMinnville, Oregon. I wore a Randy over the top of a Julia, and they thought that it was a Cassie, except it's shorter than a Cassie. So Randy over Julia for kind of a casual but still cute and a little bit sporty look. Love that one too. So that's Julia, plus all the tops work with Julia as well. Now I want to show you Julia with some of the layering pieces. So let's start with Sarah. Sarah, of course, over the top of Julia is really cute. But if you then add a belt to your Julia, actually, I have a different one. I want to show you guys with the red belt. So a thick belt put on over your Julia underneath gives you kind of a more tailored look underneath the fabric of the Sarah, right? So Julia and Sarah for sure, but the other layering pieces also work, so let's see some Joy. Julia with Joy, much better for summertime. Not quite as much weight, right? So I've seen some really cute things done with the Joy lately. One of them, you could do the same belt underneath, like I showed with the Sarah, but if you put a belt on over the top of your Joy, you end up with a little bit more coverage and a really kind of cute layered look, and a lot of movement with the Joy, which I sort of love. But I've also seen some people lately tie the front, because the Julia is a slitted, or the Joy is a slitted vest, tie the front panels into cute little knots, and then you've got kind of almost tassels in the front with your Joy, but still the length in the back. And yet another option with this Joy is to take the front panels and wrap them around the body and tuck them. Let's see if I can do this right. Tuck them back behind. Tuck them underneath. And then you've got a wrap dress in the front with that length in the back, almost kind of a tuxedo look. Lots of different options with your Joy. And then of course, can't do it without Lindsay. I'm using Lindsay as kind of a springtime jacket as the temperatures warm up, because you just want to have your shoulders covered sometimes. So again, with Lindsay, belt can go on underneath or over the top, like we showed, right? And you're going to end up with kind of that peplum, but still some good coverage. But I want to show you another way to style the Julia underneath your layering pieces. So if you do have Julia that's a little bit oversized for you, you have some room to play a little bit. So this is one of those small clear hairbands that you use like on little braids. And I like to cinch a lot of shirts this way, but it works well with the Julia too. So I'm gonna put a little bit of a ruching right here on the inside. So I wanna show you guys, I'm pulling from the inside of my Julia, and then I'm going to take the hairband and wrap twice around. And now I've got a cute little ruche under my Lindsay. That'll work under Joy and Sarah too. Hope you guys had some fun with me with the Julias today. And hope you also consider joining our group LuLaRoe by Katy and Anne. Thanks.